Are you looking to grow revenues, increase profitability, or obtain financing? If so, you came to the right place.
Running a business is all about leadership. How do you become a better leader? Learn from the successful entrepreneurs and business owners how to lead your organization more effectively. That's why we created Leadership Live at 8:05, Talking Small Business, to help you succeed with your host, Andrew Frazier, Business Growth Pro and CFO and founder of the Small Business Pro University. Every Tuesday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern, we're joined by experienced entrepreneurs and business owners who share their secrets to success via Livestream. Also, every Friday morning, we release a new podcast episode. Either way, you will learn about developing your business leadership skills from our roster of highly performing guest experts. Leadership Live is one of the many valuable resources provided through the Small Business Pro University, empowering business owners to learn, profit, and grow. Find out more at sbprou.com.
Good evening. Welcome to Leadership Live at 8:05. I'm your host, Andrew Frazier, and excited to be back here once again, talking about small business. As a entrepreneur, coach, consultant, and trainer, love working with entrepreneurs and business owners, helping them to learn key things that can help them be more successful and grow. That's one of the reasons why we created this show, because at the end of the day, your organization and your business can only go as far as you're prepared to take it. And, to be able to take it further, you have to develop your leadership skills. So leadership is key to moving your organization forward. So definitely, we have different guests that really talk about different key leadership topics. But this week, we're going to focus on celebrating your wins. That's an important key to successful leadership, building the teamwork, building motivation, creating opportunities to celebrate progress and encourage people for continuing progress. So that's what we're going to talk about. And we're actually celebrating a big win here with Leadership Live at 8:05. This is our first year completed over 52 weeks without skipping a week. So very excited, and we want to celebrate the win. And our special guest today is Arthur Jones. He actually is one of the people who really helped me mastermind Leadership Live at 8:05. We spent time partnering. We've done some shows. We've worked together on different things, and encouraged me to really move this forward and make it about helping entrepreneurs and business owners on the leadership side. So definitely welcome. Thank you all for coming in. And let me introduce Art Jones real quick. Hey, Art, how you doing tonight?
Hey, I'm fantastic. Andrew, thanks for having me on the show.
Okay. Anytime, always love chatting with you about business. You always come up with some things that I had never thought about. And some of them maybe I may have never wanted to think about, but you always come up with things that are fun and a lot of historical things and knowledge and insights that are valuable. So I appreciate that and thank you for that.
Oh, absolutely. And I think it's a reciprocal. I certainly have always appreciated, the thought-provoking and compelling ideas that you share. And, I think I've said it when we were collaborating on the show together, how important it is for people to recognize the modeling that you do, that if we all follow, how much we can accomplish. Because tonight, I know we haven't talked in several weeks, but since we talked last, you've published 2 more books, coming to a total of 3. And if creating compelling content is the best business card, you are leading the pack. So kudos for your anniversary today with the show. and the launch of your additional books to your suite, and hopefully to the libraries of all small business owners looking to grow.
Okay, no, thanks, Art. Appreciate it, and it's shared success. I mean, nobody gets where they're going by themselves, and have some great support. Partner with you. Thanks, Tika, for anniversary. Tika in Pittsburgh. I'm actually in Pittsburgh here too at my mom's. So Pittsburgh's in the house, and Art's out in Arizona burning it up. So he's
Not too
hoping
much
for
today.
some cooler weather.
We're doing cool weather. Some days we've been cooler than New Jersey. So I've really appreciated this summer more than others. That's for sure.
Okay. Excellent. And Glenda, thanks for joining in as well. So really tonight, we're going to talk a little bit more about it, but Art, definitely one thing that would be good is introduce yourself real quick, because it's been a little while and we've got some new people that are tuning in
Sure.
that may not know you. And, and then we'll go from there.
Fantastic. My name is Art Jones. I'm the founder of The Art of Standing Out, where we have built a process. We call it the story-driven process, which is 4 steps: story listening, story building, storytelling, and story selling. In that order, you've heard me emphasize story listening and story building preceding storytelling, because seeking to understand what your ideal customer is doing and what they want done is so very important for you to tell a compelling story that reaches them, engages with them, and actually nurtures them, so you can build a community of those ideal customers to ultimately help your business grow. That's what we're offering the world today, our 4-step process, and one-on-one coaching and group workshops. So we're excited about the way forward as we close out this year, and looking forward to a really exciting 2022.
Glad to have you here. So a little over a year, we started out really. First, it was just you and I really talking small business. We talked a lot about marketing and other topics.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that came from it was every single conversation, if we boiled it down, it turned back into leadership. And, so, that's really why we took on the name Leadership Live. And, even though we talk about different topics from finance to HR to marketing, technology, strategy, all those things you have to implement. And to be able to successfully implement, you have to, influence people. And that's what leadership is all about. As a business owner, you develop your leadership skills. So we talked a lot of things about marketing and a little bit about the journey of how we ended up at leadership from all that we were doing earlier.
Well, it really is. It was really insightful the way those early sessions went on Tuesday night. We did talk a lot about a lot of really mission critical parts of growing a business: marketing, sales, PR, brand. But I think we quickly realized that every session ultimately went back to that stack of characteristics that you had to embrace to do those things well. And those were leadership skills. And I've carried that on. I think we all arrived at the first session knowing leadership was important, but we wanted to talk about the other mission critical pieces of marketing, PR, sales. But it seemed that the overarching theme always ended up being leadership, and it certainly is central to the work that I do, and I know to the work that you do as well. And I believe that you and I would agree that for a business to thrive, certainly in the challenging times that we're in now, 2020, 2021, and 2022 doesn't look much different. We're in this accelerated pace of change. And if you don't have a good foundation of leadership skills and you haven't committed to do the work to hone those skills. And I'll give you 4. Have the courage to lead, which means you have to make some really hard decisions sometimes. Have integrity and know where that integrity comes from, where that North Star that guides you originates from. And nurture your emotional intelligence. Nurture your human skills, because the rapid acceleration of technology is not going to abet. It's going to keep moving faster and faster. The things that we do best are our human skills. Engaging people is a human skill. Emotional intelligence says that I'm self-aware. I know where my integrity comes from. I know myself. But that nurtures us to say, well, everybody else is probably just as complex as I am. So I should be socially aware and seek to understand them, my employees, maybe my customers, certainly, before I want them to understand me and my products. Seek first to understand, then be understood. When you take that approach as a leader, when it's time for you to communicate and call someone to action, you know their narrative so well that you know exactly what to say, how to say it, to make it resonate with them so it's like music to their ears. Those are 4 leadership traits. There are many more. But absent having those things, it's much harder to market, much harder to sell. So that's why all of our conversations over the early part of Leadership Live always turned into conversations about the traits and skills and aptitudes and temperaments you should nurture and always be nurturing to be successful in business, and most importantly, at all the discrete pieces of running a business, marketing, sales, team building, etc. And I'll add one quote, because Andrew knows I'm really a big fan of quotes. And this kind of says it all about leadership. Knowing others is intelligence. Knowing yourself is true wisdom. Mastering others is strength. Mastering yourself is true power. Integrity, self-awareness that a leader has means that you'll consistently show up every day the same way. You're in LA, you've got traffic. You don't let the traffic sway you. So when you show up at the office, people say, what happened to Art? If you're in New Jersey working in Manhattan and you've got to go across the George Washington Bridge and it's like an hour or 2-hour delay, when you finally get to the office, your integrity says, I've got to consistently and intentionally show up each day in the same way so my people know how to respond to me and expect from me exactly as I always present to them. That's hard. It takes commitment. And with that commitment, leaders become great leaders.
Okay, excellent. So Art, definitely appreciate you sharing that. And you know, there's so much to leadership. And one of the key questions, you know, people talk about is, you know, are leaders born or are they made? You know, how do you become a better leader, or is it just, you know, destined, whether you will be a great leader? So definitely want to chat about that because, you know, at the end of the day, you know, as a business owner, if leadership is key, you got to figure out how to develop your leadership skills. So we're going to come back and talk about that. But first, we're just going to do a quick video, just introducing the Small Business Pro University, which we're sponsored or produces this show as well as many other valuable content for entrepreneurs and business owners. As well, thanks for joining us tonight. We've got quite a few people. Please feel free to type in the chat if you have a question that you'd like Art and I to cover. We'd be glad to do that because at the end of the day, tonight we focus on talking small business to help you. So let us know how we can do that. All right.
Do you own your business or does it own you? Is your business growing and are you making enough money? As a business owner, there are so many things you need to know to become more successful. Hello, my name is Andrew Frazier, the Business Growth Pro and CFO. I created the Small Business Pro University for you. Small Business Pro University has self-paced, dynamic, multimedia learning experiences created by more than 20 instructors who are business owners just like you. Small Business Pro University will empower you to become a masterpreneur by learning the secrets to creating a successful enterprise, to go from working in your business to working on your business. Take advantage of our strategic coaching program, or just simply choose the courses that you need. At www.sbprou.com, we will empower you to thrive and not just survive, and make more money in any business environment.
Welcome back to Leadership Live at 8:05. We're talking about celebrating your wins. This is the first anniversary of Leadership Live at 8:05, talking small business. But in anything you're doing, part of leadership is recognizing, achieving milestones, recognizing them, recognizing your team. Art, when you're working on, developing your projects, what do you do to celebrate your wins, and how do you, break down your projects into manageable pieces?
That's an interesting question. I believe that emotional intelligence is central to everything that I do. Social awareness means that I'm really interested in the ideal customers that I serve. And as a servant leader, I believe that it's incumbent upon me not just to sit in my bubble, in my boardroom, and think about what they want. It's important for me to engage with them and say, look, I've got a concept that I think I want to create a course or build a product or write a book for you. And here's what it looks like. What does that sound like to you? And they say, wow, Art, that's amazing. You mentioned 6 things, and those 4 are fantastic. Those other 2, they're like a missile over my head, man. What were you trying to say? And we have a conversation about that, and it's a give and take. And that's collaborating to co-create. So every product that I launch is not created in a bubble just because I think I have the brightest light in the chandelier on my side. But it's created in collaboration and co-creation. So the people that ultimately are the customers of the product or service are co-creating the product. So when it does launch, they have a share in the creation of it. I know when I write about it, it's going to be like music to the ears. It's going to say, oh my gosh, I've heard that song before, and it's my song too. And it's hard to refuse products and services when you give your customer an opportunity to validate your idea through collaboration and co-creation. That's how I bring products to market. And I believe it's the most important way because it's in service to them. It's in service to them. And if I do it well, I'll make money. But most importantly, because it's in service to them, I'll make meaning first with them, because I'm fixing the problems that are keeping them awake at 2 a.m. And when I do that, I'll know I'll make money. And I get 2 things. I make meaning and make money at the same time. Win-win.
Okay, excellent. So, you talked a little bit about making money, and, there's 3 initials I always think about. And I think about you when they come up, and I borrowed them from you, so I share them with people that I'm working with. But what might those be, and what do they mean?
Well, you're testing me because I know we've got a lot of acronyms that we throw back and forth. 3 initials, huh? I don't know, Andrew. You're going to have to stump me on this one. I don't have the answer.
All right. Well, you always say KLT.
There you go. That is true.
Which is know, like, and trust.
Yeah.
And, really at the end of the day, that's what you need to do to be able to market and sell effectively. And if you don't market and sell effectively, then your business doesn't run very effectively. And that could be a problem. But what does it take to successfully have people know, like, and trust you?
I think let's go with the like first. Let's do it backwards. Liking means that you know who they are, and you authentically show up and let them know who you are. So you know them, and then when you present to them, you do it in an authentic way. It's not a show. You don't have a mask on. This is who I am, and they take it if they like it. And if they don't, leave it. And then when they leave, you know that they weren't your ideal customer. No goes with that authenticity. You present with an authentic self, and because you're in dialogue with them all the time, as they change, you change. So your content that you're creating is always in context that resonates with them in the moment that they're in. And that's knowing them, and they appreciate that. And we all want to be recognized and acknowledged. And that knowing makes them like us. And I think trust is the key piece. And trust comes from, I always like to use the idea that trust is a product of knowing that I won't lose my money or lose my job by doing business with you. And I think when you use that high bar, then it makes you work harder at creating a business that presents the truth that you offer and the promise that you're making to the customers you serve. And when you make that promise, that you present it in such a way that they know that you're going to keep that promise.
Okay. Yes. And if you boil that down, it's really about leadership.
There it is.
It's about influence. For people to like you, you have to influence them to like you. And, a lot of times it's not even about you having to do something specific. It's about you being who you are and demonstrating leadership. Definitely leadership's about trust, because you can't influence anybody, and people will not like you if you're not trustworthy.
Yeah.
Like we said, everything does boil back down to leadership. So, brought up the question, are leaders born or are they made? What is your perspective on that?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think there are people that have a certain sensibility, that if there's 10 traits that leaders have, there's just in their DNA, they've got them all, and I think those of us that are not born leaders, you can look at those traits and you can nurture them in yourself to ascend to becoming a great leader. So you're either born with it, lucky for them, or you have to do the work to nurture those skills, to achieve a status of being a leader. A lot of people believe that they're not a leader until somebody says, I nominate you to be the director of, all of a sudden you're a leader. I think there's a great book by the title of To Sell is Human. And the thesis in the book is that we're all selling something. Whether you're selling your dog the command to sit and stay at the curb as you're crossing the street, when the dog sits and stays, you've sold the idea. That sells. When the dog takes off, you didn't do a good job selling the idea. Or whether you're selling an idea to an employee staff of 15 people, you have to know them well enough to know how to engage them in that dialogue to call them to action. If you do it well, then you sold them. So I think it's a little bit of both, but my work now is really highly invested in that. And I'll read you the title of an abstract that's one of those academic papers that I read because it reinforces the work that I do. And it's called Leading by Biography, Towards a Life Story Approach to the Study of Leadership. And that means each of us has a life story. In that story, we have the folks whose shoulders we stand on to get here. If you've lived a long time, you have perhaps putting those people back in the recesses of your brain. You don't think about them as much. They're just there. when you acknowledge them and you spread them out on the conference room table and you look at them and say, thank you for that lesson I learned. And that time you scraped your toe or bruised your nose or got punched in your face, that bad experience is a lesson as well. The scars are teachers too. When you take that narrative in total, your brand story is a personal story, not always professional story, that when you mash them up together, that becomes your business strategy. It becomes the resources you call on because it shows you where your courage comes from. It shows you where your integrity comes from. It shows you who nurtured you and how you model emotional intelligence. You didn't know it was a word, but it's something you learned as a child. When you take all of those things and you put them out in front of you and you acknowledge them, you become the brand that developed you. You acknowledge the shoulders who you stand on to be where you are today. And every time you step to the podium, you can think of all those people. And when you do, say, okay, come on, we're going to the stage. And when you get there, they're standing there with you because you're standing on their shoulders. If we do that every time we have a challenging moment, we have courage, we stand at the podium unafraid to tell our story. But by the same token, we acknowledge the people that supported us as we were on our journey to get to this moment. And I'm a little shameless advertisement for the work that I do, because that brand story becomes your business strategy is what we do at the Art of Standing Out.
Okay, excellent. So, definitely, there is some inherent leadership, but, a lot of leadership skills you can develop over time.
Yeah.
And, one of the things that I've learned, having been a naval officer, the military is all about leadership. But you see good leadership and you see bad leadership. And that's how you learn. And sometimes you learn more from the bad leadership than the good leadership.
Yeah.
And just like in life, you learn more from your failures than your successes. So, when you're thinking about being a leader, there's a lot of different ways to be a leader. There's leaders who are quiet and don't talk that much, but they have a presence and they have an influence. There's leaders like the generals who are out there telling the troops to go forward and take the hill. But there's everything in between as well. So you don't have to fit a mold of what a leader is. You just have to behave in a way that, you have integrity.
I think you nailed it. When you said behavior, behavior, that's what it's all about. Sorry for interrupting, but I wanted to point that out.
Behavior, your attitude, your emotional intelligence, how you communicate and connect with others, your communication skills, all those things, and different situations call for different types of leaders. So whoever you are, there's a leader within you, and there's situations and opportunities to be a leader and to develop into the leader that you want to be. And sometimes leadership is thrust upon you, and and great leaders, sometimes they become great because of the challenge that's ahead of them, that they may not have chosen, but they had to demonstrate leadership and weren't afraid to do so. So, it's important to understand that, it's a journey and you can continue to develop and get stronger, but, it's about developing yourself and your abilities to more effectively communicate and connect with and influence people in a positive way.
I want to build on behavior and attitude, because I think that's really important point to emphasize, because if we're talking about the skills that are required to be a leader, if I used 9-1 leadership strategy, I've got 9 votes, you've got 1. When I say do it, I mean, do it. I've got 9 votes after all. That's not leading, that's telling, right? When you think about behavior and attitude, if I wake up every morning, this is a leadership hack for those that are aspirationally wanting to become better leaders. I think the first thing about leadership is when you wake up in the morning, perhaps you look in the mirror as you're getting yourself ready for the day, and you make a commitment to yourself to say, I'm going to show up today, all day, the way I have in the past. This is my practice. This is my commitment to myself as a leader, but most importantly, to the people I'm in service to. I want to show up with the right attitude and with the right behaviors, so they know me when I show up. I'm going to be unwavering in my integrity. And when we do that, when people see that we're not going to go flying off the handle and we're not going to, show up late and just blow it off, we have intentionality in our business practices and processes. When we do that, the people following us say, that's Art. I know if I have a question, I'll approach him, not when he's over there, when he's over here, because he'll respond to me. I know that over there when he's busy talking to somebody, it's not a thing to do. But having that intentionality that you are consistently presenting the right behavior and the right attitude is why people choose to follow you, because you're unwavering in the North Star that guides you, and people around you can see that consistency, and the good behaviors that you present with are deserving of being modeled by them as employees, and that extends beyond the walls of your business, and customers recognize that in you as well. So behavior and attitude and intentionality to consistently show up in the world and present the way you envision yourself. Don't curate it, just be more you, because that's where authenticity lives, but consistently be you.
Yes. So, definitely all those things. It's important to keep in mind also, though, different situations require different leadership skills, and, understanding how to flex and, use different styles with different people and different situations can help you be a stronger and better leader as well. So, one of the things Art mentioned is, recently finished writing my next book, The Masterpreneur Playbook. It's actually not even out yet. So I'm getting ready to launch it and make it available on my site and on Amazon. But, one of the things it is a 5-step business growth plan that takes you from startup to scaling. And a major component is about leadership and the leadership skills you have to develop and demonstrate at each of the 5 steps. So here's a quick video to tell you a little bit about the playbook. And, we're going to talk a little bit about it as well. And, the leadership journey that is key for entrepreneurs and business owners to take if they're going to grow and scale their business.
This is my most recent. It's not even available yet.
Oh, it's not? Okay.
The Masterpreneur Playbook.
Okay.
And really, we talked about is there's 5 steps to growing your business.
Yeah.
And, really laying out what those steps are, but not only what the steps are, how do you transition through them? And, each stage, you have certain things, there's a certain challenge that you have to overcome.
Right.
There's a certain goal you have to achieve.
Right.
There's a certain role you have as a business owner.
Right.
There's a certain structure that you need to have within your business to support that role and move into the next role. So each step, I lay out what those things are.
Wonderful.
Because each one of those has a key skill that you have to have as the business owner. You have to evolve and continually learn, or you're going to get stuck. You can only go as far as you're prepared to take.
Welcome back to Leadership Live at 8:05, talking small business. I'm here with Art Jones, and we're talking about celebrating your wins as a leader and really the steps and stages that you need to go through as a leader to be able to grow and scale your business. So, one of the things I put forth is, as a business owner, you have to evolve. And you have to evolve from just really working on the concept of your business to turning into more of a that's more of an employee standpoint, to becoming more of a supervisor, and then a manager, then executive, and then CEO. And each one of those roles takes different skills and the ability to master. And a lot of people get stuck along the way because they don't know what to do or how to do it. And that's always a challenge for people. Art, what what do you find of those steps? What do you find the most challenging for you and for people you work with, and why?
I think our mindset that we come to a task with, the mental models that we have baked into who we are, and if we have a brain, we have bias. So there's no one out there that doesn't have a bias that's already baked in. When we acknowledge them, and that's self-awareness, then we manage to them. So, I mean, I'll use, it's an icebreaker. I wish I could show it to you, but I'll try to illustrate it. If I have this sheet of paper, if I have 3 sheets of paper, in this one I cut a square out that's 8 inches square. In this one I cut a sheet out that's 4 inches square, and this one I have a 1 inch square. Depending which sheet of paper I look through, the world around me looks different. That's point of view. And I think we have to manage to that and make sure the lens that we're looking at the world with is the right lens to make sure that we're seeing everything we need to see. Oftentimes we can have tunnel vision as a leader, and we look through that 1 inch square and we're like, okay, I think I see the problem, but you missed the rest of the landscape. It's there. Your lens is different. Your point of view is not the right point of view. So having self-awareness to know that occasionally we slip into that point of view where we want to use that 1 inch square because we're familiar with what we see when we look through it. But to really solve problems, oftentimes you've got to spread the scope and look through the wide lens to take all the systems that are and forces at play to understand them clearly. So I think, Andrew, I think it really comes down to the point of view and mental models and biases that we have to manage as leaders to always be working to accomplish more.
Okay, no, that's great, Art. Definitely looking at that. Really, what I've found and lay out in the playbook is, the path that you have to take. And really at each step, there's a different leadership skill that's more important and you need to develop or focus on. So in the beginning, when you're creating your business, it's about problem solving. Your business has to solve a problem for someone, a need, want, or desire, because if it doesn't, then you're not going to be in business very long because you're not going to have anybody purchasing from you. So the first thing is you got to solve the problem of what's the right product or service and who is the right target market and values it and will buy it. So, from there, you got to develop your communication skills. You got to communicate what you have and communicate it effectively, as well as communicate with people who work with you within your network, within your organization. From there, stage 3 going from working in your business to working on your business, very few people ever successfully do that. And one of the reasons is because they don't develop the key leadership they need to do that. And that's your analytics skills. You have to learn how to analyze information, because you can't improve anything, you can't work on anything if you don't measure it. So if you're not measuring, you're not analyzing, you're not looking at, ideas, models, strategies, past performance, then you're not going to be able to work on your business. And that's where so many business owners get stuck. And that's one of the things I work on many people to figure out how to do that. Because at the end of the day, if you don't make that transition, that's going to stunt the growth of your business and your opportunities. So, so those are a few things that preliminary go through. From there, once you've worked on your business successfully, you have to bring in managers, and you have to coach them and develop them to manage your business successfully, so that you can focus on higher level things in terms of strategy and planning. And finally, developing your coaching skills. And then you have to become a symbol. You really have to be able to inspire people and stakeholders. So each stage, you've got a different leadership skill that takes precedent and becomes more important than the others. So, understanding that and working on that is key. And that's really one of the things I like to lay out and work with people to help them understand how to do those.
That's so important. And it's funny, we run parallel businesses, right? Because when you say problem solving, determining who the right market is, and communication skills, that's the emotional intelligence that I nurture in people to help them become more self-aware, but most importantly, socially aware, so they know who their ideal customer is. So when it's time to communicate, they know how to call them to action. And then jumping to team building, because if you have a business and you aspirational want to grow a business, then you're not working in your business, meaning that you're like an octopus and you've got all 8 arms working at the same time. Ideally, you have 7 people replacing 7 of those octopus arms, so you can focus like a laser on being the best leader you can be, to have vision, to have connection with the customers you serve, and do those things that are mission critical to the business growth. But 7 people that you bring onto the team should be inspired, but they should be aligned with the goals that you set and the strategies that you put in place to attain those goals. And that's where understanding emotional intelligence means that you're going to build a dream team. You're just not going to put nice people together and hope that your strategy and goals work. You're going to bring people together that you really drill down and saying, what type of person really is this? And maybe it's a psychometric test that you'll use. Maybe it's your savvy that you've gained over the years of being in business, that you see them and say, I recognize this one, I've seen this before. This one, no, but this one's going to be perfect in that role. They'll blend expressly perfectly well with the other 6 people. I'll have people that have great ideas, and I have people that have great execution. So the idea people will dream up the best ideas, and the execution people will make sure they get delivered. That's emotional intelligence. That's what's mission critical to being a great leader. And I think, to just go back to what Andrew was saying, the notion of working in your business, being the octopus where all our 8 arms are working, and you don't want to bring anybody in because you want all the resources for yourself, that's the way to never be able to sell your business. Working on your business, you still can stay as busy doing mission critical things, but you scale by adding other headcounts, and you thrive by adding the right people with the right emotional intelligence to blend with the other people. So you're like a beehive, always humming with energy and positive energy to meet your goals.
Excellent. So, yeah, so there you have it. Definitely there's a lot of different ways to look at it, and a lot of facets to leadership. But one of the key things that I do is really look at other people and evaluate what they're doing as far as how they lead, how they respond in certain situations. There's nothing wrong with borrowing things from other people. I learn a lot from other people, and you can use that to make yourself better and other people. I borrowed Art's know, like, and trust, but you probably didn't invent it.
No.
So so it's evolved, just like working on your business instead of in your business.
Yeah.
But everybody has a different perspective and take on it, and way that they see it, derive value with it. So that's really what's important, is understanding and employing the concepts to help yourself be more successful or help other people be more successful.
And I think, Andrew, to build on that, I look at it like I really am heavily invested in storytelling and looking for, because humans, I believe, are wired for story. I think, we dream, we problem solve in stories. I had a car accident, and I see Andrew, I say, oh my gosh, I just feel terrible. And you say, Art, what happened? And tell him the story of the car accident, right? That's how we problem solve. And Andrew gives me advice based on the story that he heard from me. But when I say things like, Plato said that those who tell the stories rule society, he said that 2,500 plus years ago. So when I say it today, I'm just being a parrot and saying what Plato said, because there are no new ideas. But when I take that idea that Plato shared with the world and incorporate it into what I believe about story and build my model around it, then I make it my own. And I think that, again, is leadership, because nobody wants to hear me cite chapter and verse about Plato. Go buy the book, right? That's Plato. Plato said that a long time ago. But when you take Plato's ideas and the Hopi Indians, who said virtually the same thing, but said it in a different era, and all the other people that have made commentary about the power of story, and you digest it, chew it, so you digest it well, like your mother always said, chew your food. Well, chew that knowledge that you've gained from whoever it might be, Seth Godin, Gary Vaynerchuk, Plato. When you mash it all up and you make it yours, then you have something of value to offer the world that is your unique stamp on it. And that, in many ways, can become your unfair advantage as a business, your point of view.
Okay, definitely. I'm looking at the time, and it's like amazing how fast time flies. We're here for an hour, but it goes really fast. We got some great people. We have some great comments, some great thoughts, and that you're sharing. And I'm glad that thanks for responding and liking what we're doing. We're going to be closing out soon, but if you have a question, feel free to put it in the chat. If you have comments, one thing that you may or may not be familiar with is, for almost 10 years, I've hosted what we call the Power Breakfast. We've done it out of Newark, Northern New Jersey. We actually did one in Pittsburgh as well. And really, it's a quarterly event where people come together to learn, to network, to collaborate. And, over the years, it's led to millions of dollars in financing as well as economic activity for people who have participated. And we've had over 1,000 people participate over the years. Art's actually been a featured guest speaker as well as a panel facilitator. And, we always have great people participating, some of the people that we have on Leadership Live as well. So we're actually going to go back live with the Power Breakfast, looking to do that on October 29th. So more details are going to be coming about that, but I'm very excited to be doing that. If you haven't been to one, definitely this is a good one to check out. And I'll show you a quick video about what the Power Breakfast is, and then we're going to come back and really close out, some key things that really summarize, what we've talked about, but also things that you can take away and put to work immediately for the success of you and your business. So let's take a look at the video, and then we'll be back with Art Jones and talking about leadership.
My name is Andrew Frazier from A&J Management. One of the things we're here to do is supercharge your day. What we do as part of our business, as an outgrowth of our business, is we have a series of brain trust initiatives that we're continuing to build on. And really through the brain trust initiatives, what we're doing is we're bringing a higher level of intellectual capital to bear. So we're bringing in resources, experts, expertise from across the country to share best practices and connect with business owners, entrepreneurs, organizational leaders to help you be more effective in what you do.
What I'm learning from Power Breakfast that sets it apart from other networking opportunities is how my local activities integrate and are part of the larger business community.
It brings together people of all industries who can share all different levels of expertise and can educate each other on different changing nature and evolving regulatory legal landscape, as well as all facets of all industries that they might not otherwise be privy to.
The Power Breakfast is so important for the entrepreneurial community because it gives the various business people who come together an opportunity to interact, discover what it is they can do to help each other and also do some business.
Great. So definitely join us at the Power Breakfast on October 29th. So I'm back here with Art Jones. We're talking about celebrating your wins. And what we want to do is just leave you with a few key things to take away from our leadership talk this evening and implement immediately within your life and within your business. You want to go first, Art?
Sure. I guess I'll stick with my theme, which is it's a Stephen Covey quote from, I think, his book of 1989, where he said, "Seek first to understand, then be understood." So in all your endeavors as a business owner, if you seek first to understand, then seek to be understood, you're nurturing your emotional intelligence. So Stephen Covey in 1989 had a hack for EQ, emotional intelligence, that I don't think he called it that at that time, but he knew it was important. So if you use that model, you'll engage better with your customers, you'll build better product, and you'll sell more because you'll be collaborating with them on serving them. And that certainly is a way towards success.
Excellent. So, definitely, one thing that I generally, whenever I'm working with someone new, I have them read 3 books, but one of the books is key to really developing your leadership skills. And that's Dale Carnegie. So if you haven't read Dale Carnegie or you don't know who he is, that's someone you need to get to know, because, he's basically lays out what it takes to be a successful leader. And his book is called How to Make Friends and Influence People. And the leadership doesn't just extend to your business life, it extends to your personal life. And, just like in business, you are your brand, whether it's in, personal situations or business situations. You're perceived based on your brand in each of those areas. So, How to Influence People, or How to Make Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Definitely, if you haven't read it, check it out. It's, basic knowledge, and you've probably heard all of it before, but really the insights that you gain from his examples and really how he spells out, how to do that, how to communicate and connect with people is ingenious. And, if you're going to be in business, relationships are key, leaderships are key. This book can help you be a master, and it's all learnable, So that would be my recommendation is check out Dale Carnegie. If you've read it, but haven't read it recently, check it out again, because sometimes when you go revisit stuff after you've had more life experience, you take even that much more away from it. So, definitely that's one area we want to look at. So, Art, we've covered a lot.
Yeah, as always.
Thank you for, helping to really launch this Leadership Live. And really being, contributor and supporter, and look forward to, continuing to work together, continuing to work with business owners. We appreciate everybody coming on and, sharing your comments, sharing questions and different things. So, Art, hang out for a minute, but is there anything you'd like to share before I close it out?
Well, in the interest of always, supporting the community that I'm in service to, I'm collaborating with a good friend and colleague based in Montreal, Canada, who is he's a member of the International Sales Expert Cohort, which is a certified group of sales professionals. And his practice is really interesting because sales you don't often equate with Buddhist thought, and he's that guy, and so he believes what I believe. So I don't know if I've told him this yet, but I think the name of that podcast will be Lotus, in honor of his Buddhist belief system. ROAR, and ROAR is another acronym that I like a lot. ROAR evokes the lion, but when it's an acronym, it's Return on Authentic Relationships. So when you think of leadership, think of ROAR. When you think of selling, think of ROAR, and you'll accomplish more. And I did try to rhyme, so we have that too.
So you're a poet and you didn't even know it?
I didn't even know it.
All right, cool. So, I'm going to close things out. Another great week. Always enjoy talking to Art. Thanks for sticking with us and joining us and being part of the Leadership Live at 8:05. This is our first year of many, and really look forward to bringing great knowledge and insights through our guests and through our topics that we discuss. So, each week, we have a great guest, a great topic, and next week's, the same. Very excited to have Alpha Demelash as a guest. She's founder and CEO of Rising Tide Capital. If you're not familiar with Rising Tide Capital, you should get to know them. They do some really tremendous things for entrepreneurs, business owners, and potential business owners. I've worked with Rising Tide Capital probably for about 7 years now, and really enjoy working with them, teaching them their business academy, doing webinars, and also coaching. And really looked at all the people I've met and connected with, and it looks like I've coached over 500 business owners from Rising Tide Capital over the last 7 years, which is like amazing, and really had an opportunity to impact a lot of people in terms of their business, maybe in terms of holding off on their business until they're ready, but giving insights, learning what they're trying to do, and trying to help them do it in the best way possible. So can't wait to have Alpha on. She's doing great things. She's a world traveler. I'm glad I could just get her to join in. And also she was great enough to write the foreword for my book, Running Your Small Business Like a Pro. So look forward to having her next week and hope that you can join us. But as we close out, at the end of the day, the more you know, the faster you grow. And that's one of the quotes that Art loves. And also that's, the subtitle of my book. And really what I focus on is helping people know and be more knowledgeable so they can grow. So thanks again for joining us this week. Look forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you for listening to Leadership Live at 8:05, Talking Small Business. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and to the podcast on your favorite podcast platform. Leadership Live is one of the many valuable resources provided through the Small Business Pro University, empowering business owners to learn, profit, and grow. Find out more at sbpro.u.com.